PC rent management during phaco. A stitch in time saves 9. We all know the measures that need to be taken in order to prevent collateral damage when a PCR happens during phaco. OVD injection with removal of the phaco probe, nucleus management if present, a thorough anterior vitrectomy, and IOL implantation, whether in the bag or sulcus. But one thing according to me which is the most important to prevent collateral damage is not spoken of enough. Let us see what this is. So we are doing a phaco, and a surge due to high vacuum and phaco energy causes a sudden PCR. As soon as this happens, the anterior segment and posterior segment become a single unicameral zone. And now while the surgeon is thinking what to do next, the heavy infusion from the bottle is all going into the vitreous cavity, hydrating the vitreous. This hydrated vitreous causes stress on the ruptured posterior capsule and within seconds increases the size of the opening. Before you realize it, you have a PCR much larger than the original size when first detected. Now once OVD is put in, the vitreous in the posterior segment gets plugged, but already a significant amount of vitreous is in the anterior segment and the rent is quite large. Now let us see this scenario again. A sudden surge of the posterior capsule causes a rent. But this time, as soon as the rent is noted, the bottle height is immediately lowered so that the infusion from the phaco probe is minimal, just enough to maintain the anterior chamber. This doesn't let the vitreous get hydrated and the PCR does not increase in size. Now once OVD is put in, most of the vitreous is still in the posterior segment and we have a much more stable situation. Let us see this surgical video now. So this is a routine surgery of a patient who is planned for second eye trifocal lens. The rhexis has gone well. The hydrodissection is done. Phacoemulsification of this softish cataract has gone on smoothly until now. The last piece aspiration is going on, and observe closely. This sudden surge. Rewind and see again. At this point, a PCR has happened. Now, as I suspect a PCR, I should have immediately lowered the bottle, but I am still in denial, and as I move the nucleus away to confirm, vitreous is constantly getting hydrated. Now, in fact, I can see the rent staring at me, but I am slow in planning, and you can see how the ruptured margins are constantly fluctuating with infusion. By the time I have decided to put in OVD, the damage has already been done and I am staring at a large PCR. It's going to be extremely risky to put in a trifocal lens in this bag now. Anyways, all the previously mentioned protocols of PCR are followed by me. A thorough anterior vitrectomy is being done, and with the vitrector, the remaining part of the nucleus is removed. Cortex aspiration is done. Finally, a 3-piece monofocal IOL is being placed in the sulcus. Since the rhexis was a well-centered 5.5 mm, a posterior optic capture of the rhexis is being done, as can be seen by the cat's eye appearance of the rhexis margin. Ultimately, we have a decent result as all the right steps were followed, but only if I had acted faster. I may have been able to implant a trifocal lens in the bag for this patient. Now let us see the second case. We can see a PCR has occurred now, but I immediately order a lowering of the bottle height. You can see how stable the chamber is and the rent margins are round and they are not fluctuating. Now OVD is injected. And with careful maneuvering, the last lens fragment is got into the anterior chamber. Now anterior vitrectomy is done, protecting the nucleus, and you can see while doing vitrectomy also the rent appears so stable with a controlled infusion. So in this case, I could manage to implant the original planned single piece IOL in the capsular bag with some maneuvering. Once the IOL is put, the last fragment can easily be emulsified. So, the moral of the story is, you hear everyone say when a PCR happens, don't panic, stay calm, think everything over. I say, first lower your infusion pressure and then do all those things, because most certainly it will make your life much easier. Truly said, a stitch in time saves 9. Thank you.